So some of you may be wondering why I haven't uploaded in a while, and that's simply because I've been working really hard to unlock this. The Royal Crown and Attire in Super Mario Maker 2, which is one of the most difficult outfits to unlock. Today in this video, I want to go through what my strategy was to get this item, which I think is the fastest way to get it, and trust me, if there was a faster way, I would have been doing it. So I believe this is the fastest way to get it, so I want to help you guys out. So without much more delay, let's jump right into it. So to actually unlock this outfit, you need to become first place on one of the 9 leaderboards provided in Mario Maker 2. Doing this will reward you with a spiky gold medal, which will also reward you with the Royal Crown and Attire. Also of note, on your journey, you will also unlock the other costumes for the other 5 types of medals, being the question mark block hoodie for bronze, Rocky Wrench manhole cover for silver, the Koopa Troopa suit for gold, the matrimony dress for spiked bronze, and the fancy top hat and suit for the spiked silver. So, with that being said, which of the 9 leaderboards should you attempt to get the #1 spot? So for my first tip, I would say go for world records. It is the only one that you can affect the top player's score, besides versus, but you'd have to get into a game with the #1 player, so technically this is the only one that you can control. It's also about in the middle of required levels in terms of how many levels you'll need, as 7 out of the 9 leaderboards focus on levels completed. I'll give a ranking for which leaderboards are the best and worst to go for at the end, but I want to go ahead and jump into my strategy on how to get #1 in the fastest way possible on the World Records leaderboard. Tip 1, stay determined and keep at it. You will seriously need a lot of free time to be able to do this. I was gone for 1 day and it set me back a ton of progress. Since people can take away your world records, it's really tough, but if you stick with it, you could probably get it. You'll probably have to set aside a long time for this. Now for this leaderboard, getting #1 isn't say difficult, but it just takes a really long time. Luckily, since Mario Maker 2 is created by the community, every level is different and I never really got myself bored personally. Tip number 2. So here's the big chunk of my strategy used to get to the top. What you are going to want to do is go onto the World Records leaderboard and click on a random player's profile. At the very end, you can see all world records set by that person. If you see one of their records is below 30 seconds or so, then try to beat it. You want to look for short levels since you'll need around 1500, and you want to avoid wasting time on long levels. As for the player you choose, you're going to want to find someone whose records are generally worse than yours. Once you find that person, just binge their short records until you can't anymore, and then go and find a new person. Using this strategy, I was able to get around 20 to 40 levels an hour, which is pretty fast all things considered, and was definitely faster than some of the other methods I tried out. So this is definitely the fastest and most efficient method. Tip number 3. Don't be obsessed with one level. If you can't beat it or the other player's record is too good, then just move on. There are plenty of other levels to do. I found myself getting distracted by one level a lot during my time, so this is pretty important. I probably wasted a couple of hours just trying to go at it on the same level. So trust me when I say move on if you can't do it. Tip 4. Now I personally didn't use this one as much during my journey because the player at the top, Saw, who was #1 at the time, had incredibly good world records that were near impossible to beat. However, if the person in first place has some records that can be beaten, then go for it, because it's kind of like you're completing 2 levels since you're sending them down 1 and you're going up 1. Again, I didn't use this, but if the #1 player isn't too good, then you should definitely try to beat them. For my final tip, tip number 5, this is probably the most important one, and that is to start now. If you ever plan to or want to get this costume, it's definitely wise to start now. The people at the top are just going to keep trying to go up, and it's going to get harder and harder to beat their records. You really need to start now to make you not have to use up more and more of your precious time. Trust me, start now and don't put this off if you want it. If you try later, you will probably regret not trying it sooner. I know I sure did, and I started like 3 days after the game came out, so seriously, if you want it, start now or as soon as possible. But if you don't want to go for the World Records leaderboard, here's my ordered list of the leaderboards I think are probably the best to go for. So the bottom ones are the worst ones to go for, and then as I go down, they get better and better to go for. Number 8, Course Makers. Unless you are a big YouTuber, you're more than likely not going to get on here. Luckily, this one is reset every week, but still, it's not something you'll likely get on. Number 7, Courses Cleared. This has the most amount of courses, and you're better off just going for an endless challenge one. Number 6, Endless Challenge Super Expert. This has by far the least amount of courses to do, but is extremely difficult, and your run can be lost at any moment. If you are insanely good, then go for it, but this is not one I would stick with. I would stick with the world records. Number 5, Endless Challenge Easy. There's just an absurd amount of courses you need to get number 1 with. Luckily, since it's easy, you'd likely be able to survive forever, so you wouldn't have to worry about it being challenging or you having to reset. Wait a minute. How does this guy have more easy level clears than total clears? That's a bit odd. Number 4, Endless Challenge Expert. It has significantly less levels than easy, but like Super Expert, there is still a decent risk of you losing your run at any time. Number 3, the Versus Leaderboard. This definitely won't take as many levels, but it's definitely more difficult. Depending on how good you are in Versus mode, then I would say give it a try. Number 2, Endless Challenge Normal. Personally, I don't see much of a difference between normal and easy, difficulty-wise at least, so you likely won't have any trouble going endlessly with normal. Especially considering it has 4 times less stages than easy mode, this is definitely the one to go for if you're not looking for any of the other endless ones. Number 1. Now if you don't want to go for world records, first clears is definitely the next best thing. You can't ever lose any of your points, and since there is a tab to sort by new levels, this shouldn't be too hard. Make sure to look for short levels since you don't want to waste any time. At the same time, you do get world records, so you might find yourself going to the world record thing, because I personally was going for first clears, but then I found myself shifting over to world records. But anyways, that's it for this video. I hope this will help you all, and let me know if it did. If you have any other strategies, let me know in the comments. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.